Your body talks to you. You have to pick up those signs. That's very important. Emotional well-being, lifestyle changes, the stress they
Right.
have. That is again leading to PCOS. As she ages, even the ovary ages.
Yeah.
So the amount of ovum that she is going, follicles that she is going to carry, decline with
Declines.
age. So when that declines, her possibility of conceiving also declines. Menstrual cycle, it is a fifth vital sign. Female anatomy is different from a male anatomy. That is why females are more prone to have urinary tract infection. When your body could talk to you about PCOS, your own body can get back to being normal also.
Welcome to Health Unplugged, our superstars. More women are asking questions today, seeking answers, and most importantly, they are taking charge of their body. But the doctors are seeing increasingly rising cases of irregular periods, PCOS, fertility issues, urinary infections, and complications with PEG. So the big question today is: are our bodies changing, or just the modern lifestyle is pushing the body biology in the direction that it was never meant to be? To unpack these questions, we have Dr. Nagavali Srirangam, who works closely with women navigating their health in terms of hormonal health, fertility planning, and even pregnancy care. So, welcome to the podcast, Doctor. We are delighted to have you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. So, let's get started with the basic question related to women health. So, doctor, if you compare the patterns of women's health today or maybe 15 to 20 years back, what are the significant changes that you are seeing in women health patterns?
Yeah, they are little significant. So it is little different as compared to now. Earlier, when we were getting cases, PCOS was mostly seen in adolescent girls, teenagers in their 20s, and heavy menstrual bleeding was seen in the women of reproductive age, and perimenopausal complaints in maybe around 40 to 50 years. But now we are seeing overlapping of the symptoms. Weight gain with PCOS has been a very common finding that we see in our OPD in very young girls. Almost even 10 years old, they'll be complaining of PCOS in the scan findings. And acne, weight gain, these are all very common issues that we are seeing nowadays. So, yes, there is an overlap of the symptoms.
Okay, so things are actually changing
Changing, yes, they are changing as compared to earlier
earlier.
years.
So, are you seeing more number of hormonal imbalances in younger age girls compared to previously?
Yes, younger age group is commonly manifesting with PCOS nowadays. We can attribute it to their lifestyle changes or eating lot of refined carbs, I can say, and
Okay.
the availability of the junk food nowadays, burger, pizza, noodles. These are all carbohydrate rich diet.
Right.
So this is all leading to PCOS. Seeing them in the earlier generation, yes, that is frequently we are seeing it.
So basically, it's more related to the eating habits and lifestyle, basically.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, doctor, do you think the modern lifestyle, the sleep disturbance, irregular working patterns, not eating food or skipping meals, are actually impacting the reproductive health of a woman in modern today's age?
Definitely. See, when we say about PCOS, it is not, it is a syndrome. It manifests in many different ways. It
Okay.
goes together with their emotional well being, lifestyle changes, the stress they
Right.
have, and sedentary lifestyle. That is one very common attribute nowadays. So, when we are looking at it, let me break it down into individual points. So, nowadays they are stressed out a lot, and their work habits also, they have night shifts.
Correct.
Say, for example, software women, we see them so frequently when they are having their sleep disturbances. That's a very common finding that we are seeing nowadays. That is again leading to PCOS. And coming to the lifestyle, they are trying to skip, as you said, they are trying to skip. They are trying to eat little dinner, a little breakfast, and let me have a bulk of it at dinner
Dinner.
time. That is
Actually.
very wrong, actually. Yes,
Yeah.
intermittent fasting, you please do, but let it be under an expert guidance. That will really help you out.
So when we are talking about periods or cycles, many women actually try to normalize fatigue or periods cramp or anything related to cycle, being like it's a normal day routine.
Yes.
But what do you suggest that which are the underlying symptoms that we are missing out on these aspects?
See, normal is normal. Anything not normal is always abnormal. Whether
Okay.
it be fatigue, whether it be sleep disturbances, whether it be fatigue, they give the history of easy fatigability,
Yeah.
and I'm used to it, they say. But that is not normal. These are all the early signs of her having some kind of underlying manifestation that has to be definitely addressed to. So if you are having these complaints, or if you are having any mood disturbances or sleep disturbances, no, how much ever time you are sleeping at night, still you are feeling fatigue early in the morning, you are not waking up fresh at morning. Yes, these are all the complaints that something is wrong with your body, and then you need to meet an expert.
Usually we tend to, actually ignore these kind of
Yes, yes,
issues
please,
or
that should not,
symptoms. Yeah.
yes, that should not be
Thinking that
ignored.
it's a normal part of the cycle, actually.
Correct.
Yeah.
Some here and there cycles, they
Yeah.
think that is normal. Once in a while, that is all right, because maybe some kind of exam or some stress
Yeah.
in that particular month, that is all right. But if that is continuing for a quite a long time, then that is not normal.
It's an alarming signal.
Yes, definitely.
So when someone's hormones are out of the balance, what are the earliest clues that a woman should take, be alert
Yes,
about?
yes. I always tell this to my patients also. Your body talks to you. That's very important. Your body has ways of communicating with your present self. You have to pick up those signs. Like what? The first thing is periods. Periods, we, in our course of discussion, we'll be knowing further about how, in what way periods are going to affect you. So the periods, if your periods are irregular, or if you are having a delayed period of more than 2 months, that is one common sign. Or if your face is having sudden spout of hair in the places that is not expected, like along the jawline, or at the chin,
Absolutely.
or acne, or weight gain, if you are having any of these complaints which were not there earlier, please pick them up. And if you are having these signs, just don't sit at home and don't do Google search. That is what happening nowadays
Yeah.
frequently. Please meet an expert.
So these are all the hormonal imbalances
Yes.
that is affecting the
Yes,
regular
yes. At the
functioning.
earliest, we see this
Yeah.
periods irregularity, lack of or flow disturbances. So
That's
these all
very
things.
common, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Today we hear a lot about PCOS. So doctor, what I want to know here is why is it so widespread nowadays?
So again, this comes down to lifestyle. Earlier, when we were talking about the lifestyle, there was no software, or there was no stress, work-related stress to this level that we are seeing it today. So yes, because the lifestyle has changed, the PCOS cases have risen. It was earlier in, say, for example, in 2000s, when we talk about, it is 3 to 5% only in the urban women, but we are seeing now 15 to 20% of the urban women.
Yeah.
So the incidence has definitely increased, whether it be stress in their lifestyle, or the eating habits, or the sleep patterns. So these all attributed to the rise in cases.
Okay. So when we are trying to break down what PCOS
Yes.
is it primarily genetic, lifestyle related, or is it a mix of both the things?
Yeah. So we can't label it under just genetic or
Okay.
lifestyle. See, say for example, if a woman is having PCOS, there is almost like a 40 to 50% of the chance that her mother might have also been PCOS. You can compare it like, a gun and a trigger. When you are pulling out the trigger, it's like your eating habits, or your sleep patterns, or your disturbances are getting into the picture. So you all already genetically inclined to, but then because of your patterns, your habits, then it gets triggered. That
Triggered.
is one.
Right.
And the other thing is, there are also studies in the identical twins, the genetics are all same, right?
Right.
Still, there, it's not that if one twin has it, the other twin also should manifest it. If the patterns are little different, if the eating patterns, or the sleep patterns, or the stress, so that also contributes to it. So 70 to 80% of the twins, one twin might be having, and
Other
15 to
way.
20% might not be having. So yes, it is always genetic also, and also because of the social habits also.
Okay, so it's a blend of both, basically.
It's a blend of both. Yes.
Okay. So when a woman is diagnosed with PCOS, what exactly are the changes that are happening in her body for the hormonal part?
So this hormones, it is like, picture happening actually. There are so many hormones in the body: the cortisol, growth hormone, melatonin, the GnRH, LH, FSH. There are many hormones. So again, let us go one by one. When you are stressed, your cortisol levels peak.
Yeah.
So when they peak, GnRH, the one that is going to secrete LH and FSH further down in the body, will be hampered.
Right.
So there is no GnRH. When there is no GnRH, because of the raised cortisol, there is no LH, FSH. They will reduce. So again, this will result in anovulation. Coming to that.
Right.
Now, sleep disturbances. sleep is very important for two main hormones. One is growth hormone and the other one is melatonin. And these two are again disturbed when your sleep is not good. Ideally speaking, 7 to 8 hours undisturbed sleep is what we suggest.
Hmm.
So when it is disturbed, their growth hormone and their melatonin, they are compromised. So again, this results in a hormonal disturbance. Because of this elevated cortisol levels, reduced GnRH, reduced growth hormone, melatonin, all these changes, they manifest as a disease as PCOS. In PCOS, what do we see? The FSH is elevated and LH is is more than double than FSH. So all this result in anovulation and the manifestations that we have talked earlier, hirsutism, that is the facial hair, or acne, weight gain, or the discoloration of the neck. All these things happen because of this hormonal disturbance.
It's like a chain reaction that is occurring
Yes,
inside the
yes.
body, which we usually tend to
Ignore.
ignore. When we are talking about PCOS, are the irregular periods only the sign that a woman should look out for, or there are any underlying symptoms that we tend to miss out or that we
Yes.
should be aware of?
Yes. PCOS, it is a spectrum actually. It's not that only they will have period irregularities. There are many other manifestations. Some will come as obesity, some will come with infertility, some will have period disturbances, or some will have continuous period.
Flow.
The flow will not stop, even followed by a period of amenorrhea. Means
Yeah.
they didn't have period for almost 2 months, and
And
then
then
every day they will be spotting. It's not a healthy flow because healthy flow should only last for 4 to 5 days.
right.
It is a very synchronous activity. There is asynchrony between the hormones and the physical aspects of the body. So all these manifestations happen.
So when you're talking about younger women, how early can PCOS be detected in an early age woman?
Yes. So generally the age of menarche is 12 years
Yeah.
or 11, little early
It's
nowadays.
early nowadays. Yeah.
Yes, early it is nowadays. Again, it might be because of their eating habits. So once they had their menarche, we need not rush them to have the periods. Just give some time because hypothalamo-pituitary ovarian axis.
Absolutely.
So this axis, it is like a cycle. One triggers the other one, and in the same way they have a negative feedback also.
Okay.
So for this to mature, it takes some time. So maybe 1.5 to 2 years, we can give them some time. But once they start having regular cycles, then but if suddenly they have stopped their having their periods for maybe 1.5 or 2 months, or if they started having weight gain issues or facial hair or discoloration in neck or over the face, and that is the time that you have to bring them to a gynecologist.
Okay, so once the menarche starts and the girls start having periods, but suddenly it stops, and when it restarts, it's like a tremendous heavy flow. So that is normal.
No, that is not normal. That is when they have to come.
Okay.
Tremendous heavy flow, or the flow is not stopping, or if she's gaining weight, do her might. She's trying a lot to reduce the weight, but still her weight is not under control. Then that is the time that she has to be brought.
Since we are talking about the symptoms of PCOS, can lifestyle changes alone will
Yeah.
impact how we manage PCOS, or are there any other things that a woman should take care of?
So when I have to answer this, I without any hesitation, I would like to say a big yes.
Okay.
Lifestyle is a wonder actually. So when we are treating the women of PCOS, to start with, we do not prescribe them medications. We try to pick up the cues where they are lacking. Say if their stress is at a higher level, we would advise them physical activity and a mental exercise. That is equally important as well. And the most important factor nowadays related to the stress is the cell phone usage that
Okay.
has risen up drastically, and it is like another body part for them. When they're going to sleep also, it is very difficult for them to part from their cell phone.
Undetachable, actually.
Yes, it has become like, yeah, it is undetachable. There is no other word. So what do? They see cell phone, and then along with it they'll go to sleep, keeping their cell phone nearby. That is also a very common disruptor of melatonin hormone.
Okay.
Yes, so that's very important. I suggest my patients definitely to keep their cell phone at least minimum 5 feet away from them when they are going to sleep. That's very important. And again, the other issues, if she's having weight gain, we do not jump to write some weight losing medications. We will again suggest them to do some physical activity, 15 to 20 minutes of physical activity, because as little as 5 to 10% of the weight gain that presently they are at, the weight they are at, if they have lost that 5 to 10% of the weight, that is more than enough for their periods to become
Start,
regular.
yeah.
Yes. And PCOS, it is a chronic disease. It is not a one day wonder. It is not magic. It takes its own time to work.
Okay.
It is not a sprint, it is a marathon.
Okay.
Easier to understand.
Yeah.
So we give them 3 months time to correct their lifestyle. Then we can again give them certain set of medications, so that they can also have some hand in reducing their PCOS.
So, best suggestion that you are giving here, I would
Lifestyle
take it as a
change.
tip is lifestyle changes and not to start with medication immediately once they are diagnosed with PCOS,
Yes,
right? I will
yes.
definitely take this tip back home. As we just heard from the doctor that lifestyle changes or having a routine is absolutely important. Use One Health Assist platform to track your life, to track your daily routine. You can even set reminders. There is a calorie tracker, you have pill reminders, there is a vaccination schedule tracker. So use these features to the maximum level and track your health on a daily basis. You can definitely consult a dietitian or a nutritionist on One Health Assist platform and track your daily routine and set your lifestyle to the maximum level. Let's break down the PCOS more in detail. So, when a woman or a girl is diagnosed with PCOS, there is a lot of frustration because of the changes in her body, weight gain, mood swings, irregular periods, or a heavy flow. So, what is the significance of emotional balance here?
Yeah. The most underlooked aspect of PCOS is, like you said, their emotional health. Nowadays, we have so much expectations on how one should look physically. That's very much ignored. When a teenager's life is always about how do I look.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
always there, and this is the age of stress. So when they try to ask someone, that will be commonly ignored. How do I look? When a teenager asks, even that happens at home also.
Yeah.
How do you look? You look all right. That's a common answer. But deep down, when they have given that question, so much more was going into that question actually. How do I look? It's because of her irregular cycles, or her acne, or her weight gain, that makes her ask this question. This should not be ignored. That has to be properly addressed, because studies also have shown that 15 to 20% of the women are depressed actually.
Yeah.
And they tend not to speak about it. They think that's all right. When I'm like this, that's all right. What more can I do? I'm not losing weight. That what more can I do? So yes, this is a very important point that has to be addressed. Again, because of this depression, people who are in depression or anxiety or mental disturbances, they tend to eat more without their knowledge actually.
Yeah, actually, I've
Yes,
noticed that.
yes, they tend to eat more, and again, it is like a vicious cycle that's happening. So when a girl or a woman at your home asks you about this question, please do not ignore that. Bring her to a gynecologist, because we definitely talk to them in a way as a friend does. So yes, that's very important. Emotional health is very important.
Since we are talking about emotional health here and teenager girls and who's facing a lot of mental or emotional issues, you can always consult a gynecologist and get in touch with a gynecologist for a customized or a one-to-one consultation and clarify all your doubts instead of going on Google and searching for the data. Since we're talking about the symptoms and treatment of PCOS, nowadays there is a lot of information freely available on
Yes.
internet, social media. So this overwhelming information, how do we have to tackle that part?
Yes. See, that is a wonder of this age actually. You have a lot of information. Earlier, when we had to search for the answers, it was a struggle. Whom to ask, where to find, and all. But now, this availability of information everywhere has also become a bane to the society.
Hmm.
You should know where to search, and when to search, and what to search. Correct. That's very
Absolutely.
important actually. But these are all not known for many people. Googling or Googleitis. These are all the new words that are coming from a doctor's perspective. We see so many people, and I encourage people to definitely do the Google search, but that has to be from the authenticated sites, or which sites will give you the correct answer. It's not some social media reel, and if someone talks to you about it, that is not the answer that you have to get. You have to have a proper proven, there are certain set of institutions, right?
Right.
Only if you search them you will get the correct answers. So but that is because that is not happening frequently, or that is not the site that you will search frequently. I still suggest you to meet a doctor for an expert opinion.
So
Do the Google search, but please come back to the doctor and label it that it is correct, and then you can do whatever you want to do.
So nowadays it's more about influencers and wellness
Yes,
experts who are saying
yes,
a lot of things on the internet on,
yeah,
but I think what you suggest is
yes,
we can use that as an information, but when it
yes,
comes to
yeah,
breaking down to
yes,
consultation, we should
yes,
definitely go to a
yes.
gynac.
Yes, we have so many the what do we say, we have so many phrases also.
Yeah.
Listen to everyone, but always put it into action, the one that is correct. So you please take the information whatever you want to take, and then please analyze the data that you have got and get the correct answer and then use it. Because nowadays there are certain influencers who are also contradicting what doctors say. So
Actually.
yes, so please visit a doctor, then get the correct answer, then do.
So, doctor, how important is personalized medical guidance when we are getting so much of generic information from the internet?
I'll tell you one example. See, 4 5 months ago, I had one mother bringing her daughter to the OPD. Yeah. So what happened? She was telling her mother, "Give me this, cook this for me, and only this is needed." And those kind of recommendations she was getting from a influencer actually.
Correct.
And she was little on the overweight. She was not even obese actually. She had little acne and slightly on the overweight zone. Maybe
Borderline types,
BMI
yeah.
was around 24, not 24, 18, 20s, no, maybe 23.
So
BMI
just a
was around
borderline,
23 like
yeah.
that. She was borderline. But then she was giving very strict set of instructions for her mother, and she was not ready to slightly deviate from it. The
Okay.
reason being she was continuously following that influencer. And then when she had shown me that influencer, that's not a correct authenticated information that she was
Information, yeah.
getting. So these kind of things happen. So please let them also search. That is nothing wrong. That is good thing that they are getting so much information nowadays. But before she comes to the conclusion that she has to follow that influencer, let that be checked by a doctor and then do it. That's easier for her mother also. Then she can cook properly. That's
So
all.
this is a clue for mothers of teenager girls. If your teenagers are asking a lot of questions related to cycles or diet, take that clue, find out what is happening, and then consult a gynecologist.
Yeah.
I
This
would
happened
definitely take
actually.
this advice. I
This
have two
happened
teenager
actually.
girls.
It was not for cooking as we are talking,
Yeah.
but she actually she was telling you, please buy me that, buy me this dress. I have to look like that actor. So
Okay.
that is becoming a negative influence
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
So
So I have two teenagers. So I'll definitely
body
take this.
shaming is one very common thing
Yeah.
that happens. Without their knowledge, they will shame the girl. So
But
you're look why you're looking like this. These kind
yeah.
of
So
questions.
mother's tendency is like, no, why you're talking about all this? Just
Correct.
ignore all these things and focus.
On the studies,
Yeah.
but they can't do that. See,
Yeah.
even we were teenagers and
But
we
we
have
were
gone
not
through.
thinking on those lines
Yes,
at that
because we
time.
didn't have that much social media.
Exactly. Yeah. When you're consulting a patient with PCOS, how do you, help them stay patient with patients and consistency in
Yeah.
terms of managing their
Yes,
PCOS?
yes. So I said earlier, right? It's like a marathon. You
Hmm.
need to give time. There is no other way about it. You have to do hard work and you have to give time. When your body could talk to you about PCOS, your own body can get back to being normal also. But
Okay.
you have to give certain time. And the minimum time that we recommend is 12 weeks.
12 weeks. Okay.
Yes, 12 weeks is it's very important. In this 3 months time, do see, you can bring lifestyle changes, you can have healthy sleep. Lifestyle changes, what all can you do? You have to go to sleep. The sleep is very important actually, and that's very ignored, very much ignored. Sleep is not something, it's very passive, like you totally think you do
Yeah.
nothing, you go to sleep. No, sleep is a very active phase in one's body. It is rejuvenating your whole body. The distresses, the hurts, the insults that you have given to your body is rectifying during the sleep, and that should not be reduced at any cost. So that is one. Go to sleep. And when I say go to sleep for 7 to 8 hours is the minimum recommendation. Then Is it all right if you go to sleep at 1 o'clock at night? No, that is not undisturbed sleep. When I say 1 to 8 o'clock, no, again that is not normal.
That's what is happening nowadays.
Yes, you have to go to
Follow a
sleep by
schedule.
maybe 10 or 10:30, and please wake up by 6 or 6:30. That's more than enough. You wake up fresh, and once you wake up, the other best thing that you can do is please spend for your own body half an hour. That's more than enough.
Enough. Yeah.
Yes, 20 minutes of physical activity, and then again 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of breathing exercises that will help you in becoming, mental health is very important.
Absolutely.
And then coming to your lifestyle, eating habits, when should you eat? If you want to do intermittent fasting, please do, but again let it be under an expert guidance. What
guidance.
eat, these keto diets and all, they are flushing the markets now.
Yeah.
Again, that should not be done. How to do and all, again you need, it is a multimodality approach actually.
Absolutely.
So once you do all this, then again your body will get back to its normalcy in 3 months time.
Right. So the impact needs to be studied first and then
Yes.
implemented.
Yes. So when I say 3 months time, you have to set your own goal, because without a goal you will be lost. It's like you are a drop in the ocean. But when you know, yes, I have to reach that particular land, your goal becomes a vision for you, and then you can work towards the goal. So please set yourself a reminder of this particular time. When we talk to them about 3 months, what should they do in the 3 months time? Hardly 3 kgs of weight loss or 2 to 3 kgs of weight loss. We give them small targets. When we give them small targets, when we ask them to eat meal in a way that can help them out. See, when they are, I tell them every bite counts. Every single
Yeah,
bite
absolutely.
counts. So whenever they are taking something inside, they should understand that yes, they are going to give some calorie or not some calorie. So when they are analyzing their lifestyle, or when what they are eating, when they are eating, that really means a lot. If they were eating maybe 4 idlis, they can eat 3.5 idlis. Even that is a goal that is going to help them. So please set a goal
Okay.
and then work towards it. That will make your life easy.
Okay. Since we are talking about setting up a schedule and a goal to manage PCOS or even managing your lifestyle, we have a calorie tracker, we have a health tracker, we have health scores. So you can just eat what you're eating, click a picture and post it, and your calorie will be tracked. Even water intake can be managed. Pill reminders are a very good features on One Health Assist website. So use these features to the most. Let's move to the next segment and talk about fertility. So, we often hear
Yeah.
when a couple is planning for a baby or for pregnancy, they think that once they start to plan or even have the thought of doing it, it happens quickly. But medically speaking, what are the things that a couple should take care in terms of fertility?
Now, when we talk about fertility, it is a couple issue. That is not a single person. Two people are visiting you. So, yes, there are male factors also, female factors also. It's actually not seen properly.
Okay.
Female factors contribute to 40 to 50%, but yes, male factor also contributes to 30 to 40%,
Okay.
and that is ignored.
Absolutely.
So, yes, when the couple comes to us with infertility, we try to see a female factor, and we do not ignore the male factor. That's very important.
So you have to look at both the
Both the
aspects
aspects
equally.
of it, yes.
Can you also mention about the realistic timeline when we are talking about
Yes,
fertility?
right. Say for example, a couple comes to us with 6 months of marital life.
Okay.
Now they come for with the complaint of infertility. Should we label it as infertility? The answer is no.
Okay.
It's been only 6
6
months.
months.
But can we label it as infertility? Yes. Again, if they are aged couple.
Yes.
So there are multiple factors to it. If a healthy reproductive couple, maybe in their 20s or at the maximum till 35, I can say, if they have come to you with 1 year of unprotected intercourse, still if they are not able to conceive on their own, then that is when we label them. But if they are maybe about 35 or nearing 40, if they have come to us with 6 months of infertility, that is enough to investigate them further, because we cannot give one whole year of time missing out on something,
Okay.
leading to loss of time. So these are the things that we consider. It's variable actually, the time and all. So if they are not able to, if the healthy reproductive couple, like I said, in their 25s, they have been trying for more than a year now, yes, then we will investigate.
So the age plays a significant role here when you
Yes.
are diagnosing.
And there are many
infertility.
other issues to it. diabetes, if one of them is a diabetic, or
Yeah.
if they are having some genetic issues in the family. So there are many things to be played. Like we were saying, doing the Google search, that is not enough.
Yeah.
You have to meet a doctor to know about the intricacies of when we start giving the proper treatment.
Right. As we discussed earlier, lifestyle plays a very important role. So, when we're talking about fertility issues, do lifestyle habits impact when it comes to irregular sleep or eating habits in terms of fertility planning?
Yes, there is no doubt about it.
Okay.
So if they are coming to us with the infertility, again we will look at their lifestyle. That's the number one thing that is going to help us out. So we will look at their lifestyle, where all the problems are there. We'll try to rectify it, and only then we'll start the treatment. See, it goes hand in hand. It's not that they'll be denied the treatment. They will also be given the treatment, but simultaneously they will be told about where changes they can in their lifestyle they can do,
Mhm.
if they were not having enough sleep, or maybe if possible the work hours. That's very important. Software employees, again, the work hours that they are having, that if that is possible they can correct it. So these are all correctable changes that can again make them fertile. They need not take any medication to conceive.
Conceive.
So
So,
these,
there are a lot of external factors and physiological changes that you
yes,
suggest even
sedentary
before.
lifestyle
Yeah.
again. They have to sit and work. So what do we suggest? We ask them for every 45 minutes or so, take a
Take a
5 minute
break.
break. That will help them. If they just walk, that will de-stress them physically and mentally,
Mentally
and again
both.
they can get back to the work. That really helps actually.
Okay. What should a woman understand about the biological timeline when they
Yeah.
are trying to
Yeah.
conceive or planning a
Yes.
pregnancy?
So before this, let us first understand the anatomy.
Okay.
So in a reproductive age woman, or by the time she reaches her puberty,
Hmm.
there will be 3 to 4 lakhs of ovum.
Yeah.
But as she ages, it's
Number
a
increase.
process, right? Aging happens everywhere in the body, and so is the case with ovary. Even the ovary ages.
Yeah.
So the amount of ovum that she is going, follicles that she is going to carry, decline with
Declines.
age.
Yeah.
That's very very important point. And so when that declines, yes, her possibility of conceiving also declines. She will not be if like I was saying, infertility, 1 year of unprotected intercourse, then she conceives. So this 70 to 80% of the couples conceive. Then what happened to the 10 to 20%? Are they infertile? No, they need to be investigated. There might be other factors leading to the infertility. So when she is aging, the other factors also, they play a significant role, whether it be thyroid issues or whether it be her diabetes setting, because again genetically these factors also
Affect. Yeah.
affect. So when she is planning to postpone her infertility, that's the question, right? So now when she is trying to postpone, nowadays women are trying to conceive little late.
Yeah.
So before you have taken this decision, when you have given importance to your professional life, you should also give the importance to your personal life as well. When you, before taking this decision of postponing, please go to a gynecologist, get yourself investigated.
Right.
You will have a rough idea of where your reproductive health
Health
stands.
starts. Yeah.
Then you try to decide whether you have to postpone it or when you have to conceive.
Right. So, can you mention about the age timeline here in terms of ovary production and when there is a decline?
Yeah. To start with, when a female is inside her mother's womb, fetus,
Okay.
she has millions of follicles. But as I said, by the time she reaches puberty, it will be 3 to 4 lakhs. And again, by the time she reaches maybe 30s, it will reduce further to 1 to 2 lakhs. By the time she reaches 40, only maybe she'll be left with in some thousands of follicles. And above menopause, she'll not be left with anything, maybe hardly 300, 400, or nothing sometimes. So as she ages, her reproductive capacity declines.
Okay, so
So
since you mentioned about the lifestyle quotient here, so the LH and FSH gets affected
yes,
because of the
yeah,
sedentary lifestyle, and that
yes,
in turn
yes,
affects the zygote
correct.
formation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me tell about the FSH here.
Hmm.
FSH in a reproductive age women, it is maybe 2.5 or till at the maximum 4.5 or so.
4.5, yeah.
Yeah, if that is normal. So for you to understand this, it is easier. Compare yourself. Compare the ovary as a small rock.
Hmm.
So when we are applying pressure on a rock, it is easier to move if the rock is small. So the same thing is with the FSH. But if the rock has grown into a mountain, you how much amount of pressure you apply, still the rock doesn't move, right?
Hmm.
So the FSH increases by the time you reach menopause. It will be more than 60.
Yeah, right.
So your ovary is not getting stimulated, even the FSH is at a value of 60. So over a period of time, ovary becomes resistant to the stimulation of FSH. That is menopause.
So the women are delaying the pregnancies, and they've even reached the borderline of perimenopause, and then
Yes.
they start planning for pregnancy. So all these are the factors that get affected
Yes.
actually. And
Yes.
that's why we see a lot of cases of pregnancy complications. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
We see pregnancy complications because she's aging. Because
Yeah.
see, she has done the cryopreservation of the ovary. If
Right.
she has thought about her reproductive health, she has done the cryopreservation. But what about the rest of the body?
It
Even
is
that
going
is
to
aging,
act,
and she
yeah.
can't preserve it, right? So yes, there are multiple factors involved. Before you take that decision, that is your decision finally, but before you take that, delaying the pregnancy for whatever reasons that you have, also try to analyze that in a proper way by meeting a doctor.
So it is a best advice here given by the doctor that get yourself analyzed even before you start planning your personal life. So, doctor, are women today more aware about the reproductive health, or still there is a understanding gap, or that needs to be,
Yeah.
explained properly?
Definitely, as compared to the earlier years, nowadays women are definitely more informed when compared to the earlier years. They know that you know it is a very big issue that they are going to deal if they have delayed it now.
Hmm.
And but at the same time, they are also giving importance to their professional life. And maybe now, maybe earlier that was not so
The case, yeah.
significant. Yes, earlier years. Uh, as much they are informed now, but still there are certain aspects that they are missing out. Like I was saying about the ovarian aging or the other issues that they have to be worried about, or the genetic factors that might really play a role. Because autism, we are seeing it more common
Increasing cases
nowadays.
of, yeah.
Yes, autism is again very important factor that we are seeing in the women who have conceived, women or men who have planned their pregnancy little
Later,
late.
later, yeah.
Yes, these are all the genetic factors that you have to look at. So please do not take a decision on your own, though they are informed, definitely they are informed, but then again they have to have a expert opinion in postponing the
So
pregnancy.
the biological assessment plays a very important
Important
role.
role.
So today, doctor, many women are exploring the option of cryopreservation. So how significant is that in modern age today? And is there any statistical change in terms of the number of women going for egg preservation compared to earlier?
Yes, yes. This cryopreservation, it doesn't guarantee a baby. That's very important.
Okay.
Chalo, I have done a cryopreservation, and now baby is for sure. That they should not be under that impression. Earlier, compared to the earlier years, yes, the significance of doing the cryopreservation has been properly understood by the women, and their understanding it's going on. Um Roughly we can say the ideal age to do the cryopreservation is when the woman is in her healthiest
Maximum
reproductive
ovulation,
years.
yeah.
Correct, preferably before 30 or till 35 we can say, because after 35 the ovaries quality also reduces.
Absolutely.
So more than 40 there is no point to it. Getting the ovaries, healthy ovaries, that healthy ovum, that itself might be an issue. So when they are planning for this kind of cryopreservation, ideally it should be before 35 years of age.
That's very well put up, that
Yes.
having your egg freeze doesn't mean that you have a baby.
Yes.
IVF is something like a painful segment that is to
Yes,
be
yes.
handled by a woman.
Correct.
Yeah.
That helps them definitely, but it won't guarantee a baby.
Yeah.
There are multiple factors
Right.
to it.
So, doctor, how can women balance life planning with biological realities when we are talking about the pregnancy planning?
So again, pregnancy planning, when she is coming to it, it is a responsibility, right? It is a responsibility that she has to from then on continue it further. So when she has decided on to become pregnant, there are multiple factors to it: the age that she's getting married to, her professional inclinations that she see, presently they'll be trying to change her job. This we have seen so many times. They are trying to change a job, they want to settle first,
First,
and then try
plan.
to think of the second pregnancy also many times.
Yeah.
So the age gap that they give between the two kids also, it changes.
Increases, yeah.
That is a very individualized, it's a tailored approach actually.
Hmm.
So before they're planning to conceive or planning to postpone it, meet a doctor. They can maybe talk to you about the pros and cons of it, and then you can get to a proper
Plan.
understanding of whether she has to conceive or she has to, that's
Delay.
not an issue, she can delay further.
Okay. Let's move forward and talk about menstrual cycles. So the menstrual cycles vary from woman to woman, but what actually is a normal menstrual cycle,
Yes,
doctor?
yes, let us talk about it in detail. When we say a period is normal, there are three important aspects to it: the flow of it, the number of days she has her period, and the number of days she has been having her flow.
Okay.
So, coming to the volume of it, 60 to 80 ml of blood loss in one menstrual cycle is what is normal.
Normal.
That's all, 80 ml. And coming to the number of days that she bleeds, it is only for 4 to 5 days. That is normal. And again, every 21 to 35 day cycle is normal. If her flow is for every less than 21 days or for more than 35 days, again that is abnormal. And number of pads that she is changing, that's again important. 3 pads in a
Okay.
days that her flow is heavy.
Okay.
Maybe day to day 3 is the commonest days that we see as a heavy flow. If that is there, only 3 pads that she is changing, that is normal. But if she is changing more than 3 pads or 4 pads, or if she is passing clots during her cycles, these are all the factors that are generally underlooked. They think that it is normal, but yes, she has to give importance to it.
Okay. Since we are talking about the regularity of menstrual cycle, how common are irregular cycles and when it should be an alarming signal?
Yeah. Generally, so if we take in a woman's life in a year, maybe 1 or 2 cycles might be irregular. Having irregular cycles, these are all less than 21 days or more than 35 days, having little heavy flow, these are all once in a while. If we are seeing, that is normal, because in that particular cycle she might be having fever, she might be having stress, so much as if her kids are having exams, she might be stressed.
Stress.
Even that point is enough for her periods to get irregular.
Irregular.
But if she is having this irregularity continuously, 2 months, 3 months, if that is the case, then that is not normal. And that happens almost maybe in 40% of the women. If she has ignored her complaints, these things happen. And then please don't ignore. Having clots any time in your cycle is not normal.
Okay, so we usually tend to ignore these
Yes.
symptoms and just take
Yes.
it as a normalized thing.
Yes.
So, when we're talking about menstrual cycle, pain is something that we all relate to, but how do we know when the pain should be scaled as alarming signal and
Yeah.
how we should take care of it?
Yeah. So let us go to the physiology of the menstruation.
Okay.
Now, why are we having pain? First of all, why should we have pain? Uterus, it has grown. The innermost layer of the uterus is called endometrium.
Yeah.
Now, endometrium has grown in the first 15 days of the cycle. Means, in the sense, you started having the flow. Whenever you have the flow, the day of the flow starts is called day one.
Hmm.
So, from day 1 till almost day 14 or day 15, your endometrium grows. Once the endometrium grows, it stays like that for the rest of the cycle, for coming 15 days. So the first 15 days it grows, and the next 15 days it stays like that. This all happens because of the influence of two hormones in the body. And at the end of the cycle, means before you set on to have a menstruation, the lining should shed off.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of the hormone progesterone, the endometrium falls off. Now uterus should shed it. When it has to shed it, there should be some chemical processes happening. The thing is prostaglandins. When prostaglandins are secreted, uterus contracts. When it contracts, that is what we experience at muscle
Pain.
cramps. Yes, that is the pain. Now, coming to which pain is normal, which pain is abnormal, that is individualized. When your pain is very little, when it is not interfering with your day to day activities, when it is not when it is not giving you any kind of
Discomfort.
not going to the your office or your workplace, or if you are not taking any leave because of this pain, that is normal.
Okay.
But it is interfering, when it is interfering with your day to day activities, some even have cramps when they are passing stool.
Yeah.
This happens. Or when the girl is taking off from her school, every single time that she is having pain, period pain, these are all the things that you have to look at. That is not normal. It should not basically interfere with your day to
Normal
day
functioning.
activities.
Right.
Yes.
So, why is the menstrual cycle often considered as the important indicator of overall health for a woman?
Yeah. See, menstrual cycle, it is a fifth vital sign. We have four vital
Yeah,
signs,
right.
right? Temperature, pulse,
Pulse.
BP, and respiratory rate.
Hmm.
These are the four vital signs. But the fifth vital sign, good that women have it as a vital sign, is the menstrual health.
Okay.
Just now I was telling you about the synchrony of the activities that happen
Mhm.
the first 15 days. Only when ovulation happens, estrogen converts to progesterone. Till the time in the first 15 days or first 14 days, again it is little variable. So estrogen happens when you have the ovulation, the change happens to progesterone. Then again at the end of the cycle, because when there is no pregnancy, progesterone stops,
Release, yeah.
it sheds off. This all activities, they happen because of the intricate activities that are happening in your body at the brain level, in the blood, in the ovary, in the uterus. So all this, when they are in their place properly, only then you will have a proper menstrual cycle. One of them is hampered, you will not have a menstrual cycle properly. So yes, it is a very very important sign. If you are having a period, regular period, then yes, your reproductive health, your mental health also is going on properly.
So that's the reason when we even go for a normal consultation to a physician, the first thing that he will ask a female patient is what was your LMP.
Yes.
So now I can
Yes.
relate why is that
Yes.
so
It's
important.
very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next segment and talk about urinary infections or called as UTIs. Nowadays, UTIs are becoming more common in
Yes.
women. So, what are the reasons why it is becoming common?
Yes. UTI, female anatomy is different from a male anatomy. We have to understand that. So, female urethral length, the single most important reason is the female urethral length.
The track.
Yes. Urethra is only 3 to 4 centimeters.
Right.
So that is enough for the bacteria. See, we have bacteria right now. When we are talking, even right now, our body lodges so many amount of millions of bacteria. But that bacteria, they are like commensals. But when given enough conditions, they can become pathogens,
Pathogenic.
right? So urinary tract opening, urethra and anus, they are very close to each other, and the anus has E. coli, that kind of bacteria. But this bacteria, they stay on the skin,
Right.
and they will be trying to always invade. They will always try to invade the female urethra because it is only of little length, 3 to 4 centimeters. That is enough for the E. coli to get inside. That is why females are more prone to have urinary tract infections. Now, why is it increasing nowadays? For us to understand that, now our females going outside, staying outside, or using public toilets has all increased. So their risk, susceptibility has increased nowadays. So yes, the we are seeing common urinary tract infections commonly nowadays. Their fluid intake has reduced, because let it be because of their workstations, or trying to take less amount of breaks,
Water, yeah.
being apprehensive on to use the public toilets.
Toilets.
All this has become an issue for them to have urinary tract infections frequently when compared to earlier.
So this actually impacts on how the normal flora gets converted to a pathogenic
Yes.
strain, right? I'm a microbiologist,
Oh, see.
postgraduate microbiologist.
Right. That explains why you are understanding easier.
What are the first symptoms that a woman should look out for in terms of UTIs?
So, there are certain common complaints, we can say: urgency, frequency, burning,
Burning.
and blood in the urine, and flank pain. These are the 5 common complaints that we see, and also we see fever with chills. That's very classical. So let us break them down further. Urgency, frequency. These are the commonest complaints that we see. So if you are always having the urge to pass urine, but you are not getting good amount of urine, you having an urge and passing good amount of urine, that is normal. But if you are passing less amount of urine, but still you are always feeling that
You
urge,
want to visit.
yes, to visit the washroom, that is one. And frequency, you are always passing a little amount of urine, always you are passing with painful urination. That's again very important. And sometimes even we see blood in the urine, even that is important. So when people have formed crystals in the bladder, that also results in
Yeah,
having
urination.
hematuria, urine blood in the urine. So that is again a significant complaint. And if this left untreated, that can result in kidney infection.
Correct.
So they might manifest with a flank pain, means lower back pain, or a fever with chills, and that can even result in septicemia and ICU admissions also. So
Right.
that should not be ignored.
So, are recurrent cases of UTI linked to lifestyle or hygiene habits for a woman?
Yes, definitely. Now, the habits and recurrence, let us talk about it. Now, women are more career oriented, and they are more professional than compared to earlier. But the amount of washrooms that are available also is little less. So they will be little apprehensive, or if they are going on a trip, they'll be little apprehensive on to use the public toilet. So the commonest thing that they do is take less amount of water.
Water.
They will reduce their water intake. That's the single most culprit that happens. When they have reduced the water intake, what happens? The urine outflow also reduces. When the urine outflow has reduced, what happens? That gives the opportunity for the common bacteria to ascend into the bladder.
Bladder.
So however they have to go to the washroom, I have seen so many patients having this kind of complaints. See, however you will have to use the washroom. So
Okay.
when they are trying to use the washroom, let it be on a healthier side than to be on a becoming a
Problematic issue.
problematic issue. So try to use the washroom. You have to drink good amount of water. Then that reduces your chances of having the infection, because every time the bacteria, it definitely it tries to enter. The only motive of the bacteria is to enter,
Absolutely.
right? So but when the bladder is full, it flushes it out. That is a protective mechanism with which you can help yourself from having a UTI frequently.
So here we can say that water intake plays a very important and a major role when we are talking about healthy lifestyle for a woman. So you can track how much water you can drink in a day on One Health Assist website and track your daily water intake. When you're talking about UTIs, many women tend to, self-treat these
Yes.
complications. So what are the major complications that can arise if this has been ignored by a
Yeah.
female?
Yes, rightly said. So, what do? They start taking some kind of antibiotics on their own, and antibiotics are they have to be prescribed only by a doctor. Please understand and remember this. When they are starting it on their own, they'll try to take it. They will have relief in hardly 2 or 3 days time. So they'll stop taking the antibiotics. That's the commonest mistake they do. When they stop taking the antibiotics, bacteria start developing the resistance to it.
Yeah.
This is very very important, because later when when they come to us having the antibiotic resistance, when we start trying to prescribe them the proper medication, that might not work. Then we might have to go to the higher level of antibiotics, and they might not even be responding to it. So well, by their self treatment, they are unnecessarily landing in the troubles that are not needed, and that can result in pyelonephritis. Means when the bacteria have reached the bladder, they will try to ascend it further. They will go
Kidneys.
through the ureters, they will try to reach the kidneys. Once they have reached the kidneys, that becomes very chronic, because they have to take for a quite a long time, the treatment for a quite a long time, and that can again, as I said, it can result in sepsis, ICU admissions, unnecessary morbidity she has to face because of the single thing that she did not
Ignored the
give
initial.
an importance to the complaint she was having.
What are the preventive habits that can significantly reduce the cases of UTI for a female?
This I tell even to my mother also when she is going on a tour. That's very important point. Please tell your women at home, drink good amount of water. How much amount of water? That is individualized. 2 to 2.5 liters per day is enough if you are doing little amount of stress. Otherwise again your body talks to you. You will have the signs of becoming thirst and all. Respect it. Drink half a glass of water once in a while. That is enough. 1.5 to 2 liters of water intake. That's the single most important point that will UTI incidents.
Okay.
And the other thing is, use the washrooms in the proper way that is needed. Okay. And the third thing is, do not flush the washroom before using it.
Okay.
That gives the aerosols out. So
Hmm.
these are the ways in which you can reduce your incidence of having
Having.
UTIs.
So water intake plays a very important role because it
Yes.
helps to maintain the pH of the urine,
Yes.
and that's how the acidity and
Yes.
it affects the growth of infection.
Yes.
Let's talk about pregnancy care
Yes.
now. So, in today's modern age, when it comes to pregnancy care, a woman has to take care of family responsibilities, career perspectives, and her health as well. So,
Yeah.
what are the things that a woman has to prioritize in terms of having a good pregnancy care?
Yeah. Pregnancy care and UTI, it's very important because we there is a term called asymptomatic bacteriuria. So irrespective of the complaints, if she is manifesting the colony count enough in her urine, we will definitely treat her. The reason being, her ascending infections, her susceptibility to have an infection is very less. So, yes, it has to be treated. So, every trimester, we advise the women to get a complete urine examination and urine culture sensitivity, because if it is asymptomatic, also we have to give the treatment because her susceptibility is less. And when we advise, this is a very common thing, they when we advise them to collect the urine, they just go and collect it. That's again wrong, because
Midstream.
yes, midstream sample is very important here. What is midstream? Let a little amount of urine flow and then collect the urine. That's very, very important point. You have to collect the midstream sample, then we get the correct result.
So, doctor, when should prenatal care ideally begin?
Yeah. Prenatal care, specifically that is for neural tube disorders, 3 months to 6 months is enough. Ideally speaking, I would suggest you to start taking the folic acid 6 months prior to your plans to conceive.
So, when you're talking about pregnancy, how important are the regular scans and routine checkups important?
Yes. This is again commonly some, if they are not well educated, or it is all individualized. When they come for a scanning, sometimes they will come for a TIFA scanning directly.
Hmm.
That should not happen, because the routinely in a pregnancy which is not complicated, we need 4 scannings. The first one being the dating scanning, also that helps us in knowing the number of fetuses, the location of the pregnancy,
Right.
how healthier is it, is there any clot in the pregnancy, in the placenta, and all. So that is about the dating scan. Coming to the NT scan, NT scan is to rule out whether there are any genetical
Genetic
issues with the fetus. Again, that cannot be skipped, and that has only a window period. So please meet a gynecologist. She will properly guide you when to get it done. You can't do it before or you can't do it after.
Okay.
The third scanning is TIFA scanning. We screen the baby top to bottom, from the head till the toe. Every single organ of the body of the baby is looked at for any anomalies. It can happen anywhere. So all these are screened properly. It takes time for the ultrasonologist. So that's very important. Again, you should not miss it. The fourth and the final scanning is the growth scanning. In growth scan, we will see for the AFI, amniotic fluid index, how much amount is the amniotic fluid for the baby, the weight of the baby, how well is the baby growing, how is the blood supply to the baby, how is it coming back, the Dopplers of it. So these 4 scans are very important. And depending on the pregnancy, the number of scans also increase. And coming to the other tests, how is her anemia? The single commonest thing is anemia. We'll look at her anemia
Hemoglobin
status.
levels.
When we were talking about the preconceptional point, we will also look at her anemia, her insulin, her diabetes levels, how is her fasting sugars doing. All these factors are to be looked at before conceiving also, and during her pregnancy. All these are again screened at every trimester.
Anomaly scan is usually done in the second trimester.
Second
And the
trimester.
third one is for the growth factors.
Yes, growth scan. So
And then
TIFA
towards
scanning.
the end of
Hmm.
EDD, they again do a scan
Yes.
that's again
Yes.
for growth,
Yes.
for amniotic fluid.
Correct. So this is again a common scanning that happens.
Hmm.
Till we can, when at her EDD only 4%. If we take 100 women, only 4 women will deliver on her EDD date
Exactly.
given.
That's the reason I asked
Yes,
this question.
yes. But why is it important? Generally, they will deliver little before
Before.
her EDD,
Hmm.
around 38 completed weeks, or
Yeah.
in her 39th week, like that they will deliver. But if they are going beyond their EDD, that is when the scanning, repeating scannings and all, they become important. Why? Because amniotic fluid, it reduces
Decreases.
drastically it reduces after her EDD. So how is the AFI changing? That is why we will be needing more scans. But do not worry, scanning is completely normal. It is ultrasonic sound.
Sounds.
This is again a very common question. These many scannings, is it normal? It is normal.
So it's usually done in full-term pregnancies, basically.
Yes.
So what are the common mistakes that a pregnant woman makes because of outdated or misinformation?
Yeah. The commonest question here we get is, should we eat for two?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. I can say it's an outdated advice. Maybe they were not having proper tracking and all of the what the pregnancy is progressing.
Right.
So maybe they were asking them to eat for two. You should gain weight. You should gain so much weight that it becomes difficult for her to lose it later
Mobility
on.
becomes an issue.
Yes. So you need not eat for two actually. Again, let us break it as a trimester
Point of
basis.
view, yeah.
Yeah, trimester point of view. In the first trimester, sometimes she might not gain weight at all, and that is normal because baby is very little, uterus also grows a little. So there is, and sometimes she has a lot of nausea and vomiting. Sometimes even 1 kg weight loss also is considered normal because she has a lot of vomiting. She might not be able to take good amount of food. But coming to the second and third trimester, 300 to 400 calories if she's taking more than what she was eating earlier, that is normal. So please do not eat for two. That's the commonest misconception we have.
That's how we have experienced. The first trimester is the adjusting phase.
Yes.
The second is like you're going smooth,
Pleasure
and the
phase.
third one is the happy
Ready
phase.
for the delivery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's move further and talk about woman hormones. So, can sleep disturbance affect the hormonal balance?
Yes. Sleep disturbance itself is enough for 80 to 90% of the patients. Sleep disturbance is enough for them to have irregular cycles. But how is it going to give this irregularity? When your sleep, I was saying earlier, sleep is very important for your hormones to secrete in that particular time. Melatonin starts rising. Melatonin is a sleep hormone
Right.
that gives you good amount of sleep. But when is it secreted? It starts its secretion from 8 p.m., goes on gradually, 10 p.m. it slightly peaks, and at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. it peaks. But when you are going to sleep at 1 o'clock,
You're disturbing that pattern.
yes, the pattern of it is disturbed, and your stress level, cortisol, your stress hormone, that shoots up, and again that reduces your GnRH.
Right.
All these factors are important in becoming your period irregular.
Okay.
So yes, sleep is a single most point that you have to look at, and always it is missed.
Sleep patterns also play an important role in
Yes.
terms of having a schedule
Yes,
to take care of the pattern.
correct.
Are sedentary habits contributing to rising PCOS and metabolic issues?
So, are sedentary lifestyle or habits contributing to increasing case of metabolic
Yes.
disorder or
Mm.
even PCOS?
Yes, definitely. Now let us talk about insulin sensitivity. So, sedentary lifestyle. When you are sedentary, what happens? Your tissues become picking up the insulin reduces. The insulin sensitivity of the tissues reduces. Then what happens? Because there is less insulin, the hormonal signaling of the insulin changes, and that results in weight gain. Now what happens if you are starting little amount of exercise, your body muscles, they start taking that insulin, so the blood glucose reduces.
Yeah.
Yes, and again that results in healthy functioning of the ovaries. So yes, sedentary lifestyle in PCOS, they are directly related. One can cause the other one.
Okay. So, how much improvement can a woman see by correcting her daily routine?
See, coming to the daily routine, if she's on a slightly overweight, 5% of the weight loss is enough for her to have a regular periods actually, just 5% of the weight
Okay.
loss. And then her sleeping patterns, if she is able to correct it, her periods will become regular in just 6 weeks time.
Okay.
And her stress, if maybe if she's having exams, that's another issue. But if she's stressed out because of her change in the work style, or because she has to travel from one place to another place, if there are one time things that are happening, her periods become regular in just one cycle's time,
Okay.
in 1 month's time. So yes, her lifestyle is very important to make her periods regular again.
Let's clear some myths with doctor. Irregular periods are very common and
Yes.
they are absolutely normal. Is that true?
No. Irregular periods. How much irregularity is normal? How much can we allow? If it is between 21 to 35 day cycle, that is normal. If that is more than 35 day cycle, or if it is less than 21 day cycle, again that is not normal. And people, they tend to ignore. That's a very common finding in our OPD also. The earlier cycle is 2 months ago, for 50 days ago. That is not normal. If you are having this kind of irregularities, you have to meet a gynecologist, because that also increases your cancer having tendency.
Absolutely.
Breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, all this, they can be because of the unopposed estrogen, and that happens because of your
Irregular
irregularity.
cycles. Next myth is PCOS always affects the infertility. So, are there any medical evidence to show that?
Yes, PCOS definitely causes infertility, but it doesn't only cause infertility.
Okay.
That's important. Also, it might cause, it is a spectrum. It might cause facial hair, or acne, or melasma, or overweight, or even diabetes, thyroid issues. So there are many aspects to having PCOS. All infertile women are not PCOS candidates, or all PCOS always doesn't lead to infertility. We have a tailored approach. What is the issue, and we address it.
Okay.
Yes.
Urinary infections are oftenly taken as a minor issue
Yes.
and it can resolve on its own. So, is that a risky thinking from a woman's point of
Definitely,
view?
yes, definitely. Don't ignore the urinary tract infections, because, as I said, initially maybe it will clear off in a day or two, but by the time you might have already started taking antibiotic, you might have antibiotic resistance, you might have recurrent infections, because your complete course of treatment has not happened properly. You are again prone to have infections unnecessarily. So yes, please don't treat them on your own, taking some kind of juice, or
Yeah.
that is not enough. Meet a doctor, take a proper treatment.
Okay. When we are talking about fertility issues, they are usually tagged as women's responsibility. So, why is that misconception still widespread?
Yes, it is definitely widespread. Infertility only because of female. That's a common conception that we have. Yes, that definitely has to be addressed. When we talk about infertility, the first counseling that we have with us, we make sure that couple attend it together, because how much ever female might be reason for that infertility, there is always a possibility that even male is responsible. 30 to 40% of infertility can be again because of female factors and male
Male
factors
factors
together.
both, yeah.
So both have to be addressed, and yes, definitely it has to be taken care properly.
It has to be investigated,
Investigated
basically from
very
both the
much.
sides.
Yes, and male factor infertility, if we are looking at, as you said, it's very easy to rule it out with a single investigation,
Yeah,
semen
semen
analysis.
analysis.
That gives us so much of insight into whether we should we investigate it further, or can we again concentrate on the female fact aspect of infertility.
So, but initially it is always directed towards women
Female,
being
women, yes, that's
analyzed
very
first.
important.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be done.
Okay, it should go simultaneously.
Correct.
Let's talk about preventive health for a woman. So, if a woman wants to start preventive care in an early age, when exactly she should start?
Yes, preventive care, that starts nowadays as early as 9 years. When I
Okay,
say
that's
this,
pretty early.
yes, as when I say this, 9 to 14 years is the ideal age group for the kids to get vaccinated against HPV,
Okay.
human papilloma virus, cancer, cervical cancer. That is what we are talking about. So it starts little early. Just that the mother, the parents have to be little uh,
Vigilant.
informed about it. Nowadays, that is picking up actually. The screening for cervical cancer, it's one of the very commonest cancers that we see in India. So the preventive care starts very early, but if it is more than 14 years, that's still all right. She can take it all as late as 35. The sensitivity of the vaccination reduces, but still she can take that vaccination. The best ideal time is before she starts her sexual activity. That's
Yeah.
the ideal time actually. She has to take 3 vaccinations.
Right.
The schedule is 0 dose after 2 months and after 4
4
months.
months.
So in 6 months gap, she will be taking
3 doses.
injections. Yes, that's the first most important preventive aspect that I want to talk about. The second one is coming to her periods, anemia. If she is having heavy flow, please meet a doctor. You can correct her anemia by taking initially, if it is a mild anemia, she can take health rich diet of iron rich diet she can take and correct it. If it is little more significant, maybe we can put her on tablets, again that can be prevented. The third point is her weight gain leading to PCOS. This is happening now in adolescent girls,
Right.
teenage girls. So what exactly is the reason for her weight gain? What is her lifestyle? What is her eating? What is her eating habitus? So if is she taking refined carbs a lot? All these points can definitely make her health a better one.
Okay.
So these are all the preventive aspects to
Okay.
it.
So when we are talking about preventive care, how important is a regular gynec checkup, even though there are no symptoms or there are no alarming signs?
Yes. Now, as I was talking about cervical cancer vaccination, that is the primary level.
Right.
That is the primary prevention. Now, the secondary prevention, she's not having any complaints. But how frequently should she visit a gynecologist?
Right.
Every 3 years. Once every 3 years, still till she reaches 60 years of age is the ideal time for her to get screened. And the screening is the Pap smear. Nowadays, the awareness has definitely increased,
Increased.
but it has to go further into the crowds about the importance of Pap smear. Though you are vaccinated, you should still get a Pap smear done.
Okay.
That is the preventive aspect. And the other times that you have to meet a gynecologist, if you are already having some complaints or if you are cured of it, how frequently? Maybe once a year is all right, even though if you are
Just
not
for a
having
routine
any
checkup.
complaints.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which daily habits have the biggest impact on women's health?
We've been talking about it. Her sleep, her single most important point I would like to say is sleep. Then comes her eating habits. Then her work schedule and exercise,
Okay.
physical activity and mental exercises. So these are all the important things that play a very vital role in her reproductive health.
And how women should learn to listen to their body when it comes to women health care.
Menstrual regularity is one single common thing that the body talks to her, and she can't ignore it. If her periods are irregular, that simple point itself is enough for her to meet a gynecologist. There are certain cues that she gets before the ovulation also, the changes in the vaginal discharge, the alternating cyclical pain of a lower abdomen that she has during the ovulation time. These are all the body signs. If she can analyze them properly, then yes, she will know about her irregularities also properly. If they are not happening, then that is the sign that she has to meet a
So
gynecologist.
these are the red flags basically that we
Yes.
should look out for.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's find out what inspired you to become a gynecologist basically.
Um, it was not a single point. It's a very difficult question, let me put it. But what exactly made me, I do not have a proper answer to it. Over a period of time, when I was looking at the women's health, and when I was already a doctor,
Okay.
so when I was looking at the women, their struggles, I thought maybe this is one aspect I have, uh, I can offer to the women, to the society. So yes, then I have moved my concentration towards becoming a gynecologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's try to find out how platform like One Health Assist helped you in overall consultation or handling your patients.
See, it is one-stop solution. I think it has all the aspects of it. Whether it be monitoring the calorie intake, the diet that you have to take, or the exercises you have to do, when to do, what is your water intake to be. So all these are things that are there for a normal person. But when you are having an issue with your health, whether it be meeting a doctor or having a prescription of it, or getting the investigations done,
Right.
coming back again to the consultation department, so because it has, I think, all the answers, that would be easier if you can log into it and meet a doctor.
Yes. This brings us to the end of this podcast. Thank you, doctor, for giving us such great details on women's health, PCOS, infertility issues, hormonal imbalance, how a pregnancy should be planned and what are the aspects that a pregnant woman needs to take care of. That was great from your side to give us such insightful information. We are really delighted to have you on this podcast. So stay tuned and please like, share, and subscribe. This is your host Dina signing off for now. Thank you.